Bernard in Israel writes to me, I am curious about what makes one phono preamp better than another. I know that the maiden product of PS Audio was a phono preamp. From the advent of home audio, preamps were in just about all home audio systems and equipment, from the floor-standing pieces of furniture to shelf-sitting systems. And I can assume that the preamps in those systems were not meant to be the best, but to get the job done. I understand that the quality of parts can make a difference, but what effect does a better preamp have on the signal itself, and therefore on the sound that comes from the signal? How does my LP sound better with a better phono preamp? Also, you should promote the PSA forums a bit more. I've really been enjoying the time that I spend there. Great, warm, and knowledgeable people. Thanks, Bernard. Well, head over to our forums. We do have one of the best forums, I think, out there in audiophile land. I say that because there are, of course, a number of forums. Most of those forums are a little bit aggressive, a little bit contentious, a little bit frightening, if you will. And one of the things that we have focused on for the last, gosh, how long have we had a forum? 20 years, 30 years? I don't know. How long have forums been around? We've had a forum. We've had some really excellent moderators. Currently, our moderator is Elk, whose real name is Eric. You bet you didn't know that. And Elk does an amazing job of keeping order, of keeping everybody sort of talking about hi-fi and music. And a lot of our forum really revolves around music. There's a whole thing to list your favorite. We must have 20, 30,000 albums listed on there and playlists, and you know, we try and stay away from politics and hate speech, and if it gets too aggressive, Elk will just take them off. It's a safe place to go talk about audio. So go to psaudio.com, just click on forums, and it's in one of the drop downs. Okay. Phono preamplifiers are a complicated subject, one of which I know a lot about. As you pointed out, 50 years ago, Stan and I started out building phono preamplifiers, and we learned a lot. We learned about the importance of the RIAA curve. That's the curve that reduces bass by 20 dB, increases highs by 20 dB, and then when we play it back, reverses that. The tolerance values, the accuracy of that curve, you're spanning 40 dB. So 1% off because you used chintzy parts or you didn't calculate the RIAA curve properly changes the sound dramatically. One of the things we did when we first started out PS Audio is nobody used 1% parts back then. They were really expensive. And we used 1% capacitors and resistors in our RIAA curve. Today, they're, I was going to say a dime a dozen. Heck, they're a penny a dozen. But back then, high tolerance, highly accurate parts were very, very expensive. So that was important. The way that you amplify it. Building a phono preamplifier is not nothing. There's a lot of gain, especially if you got moving coil cartridges. You've got 1,000 times gain just in a standard 60 dB range. To get a quiet 60 dB of gain is technically very difficult. Lots of FETs or bipolars in parallel, fancy circuits, all of that changes the way things sound. It is not simple. The phono preamplifier, from an analog standpoint, is one of the most complex, difficult to design products that I know of. Far harder than a preamp, a power amp. I mean, those are trivial in comparison to a phono preamplifier, especially when you're getting into the highly exotic ones like we make. So it's tough stuff, and all those choices that you make, the type of semiconductors, the circuit topology, the accuracy of the parts, the power supply, all of it makes a huge difference on the way it sounds. And that, in a nutshell, is the answer to your question. Okay, thanks. Bye.